Okay, let's start with how to set up your workspace. So even though my mat here looks a bit dirty and grubby and full of paint marks, it isn't. I've given it a good wipe down to get rid of any dirt with an old sock, rag, whatever you want to do that with. The reason being is because we're working on white, well, I'm working on white watercolour paper here. We don't want any marks, and this is going to be our original image. So when we send this to the printers, or if we print it ourselves, we want this to be as spotless as possible. So make sure absolutely everything is clean. Make sure your palettes are clean. So I've just given mine a wash. Mine is always in a hideous state, as some of you will know who've worked with me in the past. But clean your palette up, clean your brushes, spotless, have everything lovely and clean. Clean water, etc., etc. Okay? Hands as well. Clean hands. So once you've done that and you've got yourself in a lovely working environment, you're comfortable, then we'll start with how to prepare the paper. So once you've decided what paper you want to use, I've got A4 rough watercolour paper here. I mean, you can use any kind of paper, but if you're using watercolour will only respond in a certain way on watercolour paper. It will respond differently on just plain paper, so just be aware of that. The same with all other kinds of paints. And make sure that your card that you're using is card, not just thin paper. Photocopying paper, all that stuff won't work. It has to have a certain thickness to it. You can get sort of thick card, white card from Tesco, The Range, all of those sort of places. You can get this sheets of watercolour paper. You can even tear some sheets out of your watercolour pads if you want to. A4 I've got, but please don't be frightened of working smaller if you want to. So if you want to produce A5 cards, then just cut your sheet of watercolour paper in half and then follow the instructions. Okay, but I'm going to do them on A4 just so that you can see them nice and large. The first thing to do is, how do we fold them? So measure using a ruler and a pencil. You don't want anything too soft. I've got just an HB pencil here, and my card measures 30 across. So I'm going to put 15, a mark for 15, 2 marks. So your card might not be 30 across. So whatever it is, measure it, find the halfway point, and draw yourself a line to fold along. It can be a very pale, just a very pale mark like that, so that you don't see it. And then I've got these paintbrushes which have a beveled edge on them, and they're for sort of scratching into paint and things like that, but I find them ideal for scoring. So if you hold your ruler again, hold it nice and strong, and all we're going to do is score along that line a couple of times. So we're not going through the card, we're just scoring it. So you can use a blunt item of any kind to do that, but don't make sure it doesn't cut your card. And then what you'll do is you'll find you have a nice crisp edge. Just encourage it. If the card is quite thick like mine is, it might need a couple of scores. So mine is quite thick, so I'm going to score it again, because otherwise you get these sort of weird creases and it's not as neat as it should be. So just apply a bit more pressure if your paper or card is thick. There, that's better. See how that folded? And you don't get these weird creases. Okay, so you know that now you have to put your image on that side. I do this because even though I'm going to send these to the printers, I will send these as original cards to people. And you can see I've already got a mark there. That's come off my ruler because my ruler was dirty and I didn't wipe it down. So just be aware of that. Mistakes can happen. So we're going to be working on the right hand side. Now you might decide you want to work landscape, like so. So turn the card and work on that side. That's landscape, just for those who don't know. That's portrait. Okay, so we need to fit our image, whatever that might be. So follow this routine for every single piece of card that you're going to use. Okay, so for this one, we're going to do a very almost design-like triangular Christmas tree. So I'm going to use some masking tape to make it really even. Now if you haven't got masking tape, then you can use a stencil. So just take a piece of card and cut a triangle out of it. Alright, you might not have masking tape. So I'm going to cut a piece, and what I do is I put it on my jumper like this. And I just to take off the very heavy glue that's on this tape. A lot of masking tape is quite strong, and you might find that it might pull off your paper a bit. So I just put that on my, you can see the bits of hairs come off my jumper, so that it won't pull off the paper when I take it off later on. So again, another piece. I've got this thin masking tape which you can get online. It's really useful because you're not using the thick stuff, it's not as dear. So up, you can sort of find your halfway point with a pencil if you want to. So this measures 15. Let me just move my paint box. So the halfway point would be 7.5. So if you put a mark there, then you know that that is where the top of the tree is. But you need to put the inside of the tape where the top of the tree is, okay? So position that piece of tape wherever you want to put it. I'm going to pull another one. Now in the same way you can measure. This is if you want to be perfect, you know. If you don't worry. Measure from the tip of there to the end. So I've got roughly 2 centimetres. So I'm going to go and put a mark on that side. And then I know that to join, now I've not cut a piece long enough there. So have I done the same thing again? Not quite long. Oh no, that's just about right. So I'm just going to join those dots up like that. So I know that it's even on this side to this side and at the top. Okay, so for this one we're going to do a series of green shades. So put our things away so we have a nice clean working area again. I'm going to use a round brush. It's number 7, the one that I've got, but it's got a rounded tip to it, and I'm going to do a series of green, purpley green marks. Okay, so what I've got is a pot of water for cleaning my brush off and a pot of water for mixing, just to keep my colours nice and crisp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a sap. I've got sap green here. You might have several shades of green in your set. Let me show you. So I've got some sap. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it into 4 different sections. Mine is quite a strong green. It's a more like a Windsor really than a sap green. Right, so to the first one I'm going to put a dot of alizarin and crimson into it, like that. So it goes sort of a reddy colour, a reddy purpley colour. To the second one I'm going to add some yellow, like that. To the third one I'm going to add some blue, like that. To the fourth one I'm going to add some orange. If you haven't got orange, then you can mix cadmium red with cadmium yellow, and then I'm going to take some more green. I'm just going to put it in there so I have the green back again. So I've got 5 colours there. Now you can increase those colours or decrease them or add more to them if you want to. I'm just going to make that a bit more blue, and use the colours you want. You can do multicoloured lines if you wanted to, so it's up to you. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start with the lightest colour. So we're going to use that yellow, sap yellow that I used, and we're just going to start to put some lines in. So I'm going to put one there, like that. Now you can vary the shapes and the direction of the line. Okay, it's up to you, but just put them randomly over these sections, like that. And in the same sense you can have them wobbly or even, thick or thin, that sort of thing. Wash your brush off and take up another colour. So I'll go for the next lightest tone, which is the blue, the one that I've added blue to. And I'm just going to go in and do this. I have a thin one there. And enjoy this. I mean, you can do multiples of these, you know, you don't have to just do one, you can do multiples. So if you didn't want to go and print off your pictures at the printers, then you could just produce a series of these simple Christmas trees and just use those. You don't have to make prints. Right, okay, so the next stage is, if you've got a hairdryer, dry it off with a hairdryer. So there'll be a bit of noise just to begin with. And we do this so that it doesn't run into one another, so that the colours don't, oops, sorry, it just knocked the camera. So I've washed my brush off and I'm now going to go into the orangey browny colour. Now the colour I mixed is quite brown, so I'm going to put a little bit more orange back into it, so it's not sort of dirty brown colour or dirty orange. And I'm going to go across this way. Now we're going to go across some of these lines now, like this. Let's see, I'll go this way, I think. And you can see that the colours that are underneath do come through, but it's quite pretty. So again, just randomly put these marks in. Let's put another one there, I think. And they can be thin and thick, and the pigment can be thin or thick. Again, let's have another one. And there's no reason why you can't work over the top of the orange too, like that. And we're just going to continuously now build up these lines until we've got rid of all the white paper. So this was the purple. The next colour I've got here is the sort of purpley blue mix. So again, try it out, see if the colour is what you want. If it's not, then add a bit more colour. I'm going to go this way with this one. And it's quite a lovely thing to do. Just adding a bit more purple into my colour just to make it a bit more vibrant. This way. Nice thin one up there, I think. And I think we'll repeat that across there. And maybe one going across like that. Okay, I'm going to try and put a little bit more of the yellow in now, but before I do that I'm going to dry it off. So again, there'll be a little bit of noise. So you can see as the colours dry, they become more vibrant. So we're going to just put a little bit more of that yellow green mix in, and we're going to go and work over the top again. So nice thick, I think we'll go this way here. More. I think we'll put another one there. That's quite sweet. And with each stage, if you can, if you've got the time, just dry it off. If you don't have a hairdryer, what I recommend is that you do several, so that you can put a few colours down, do a few more, and then by the time you've finished the others, the initial bunch should be dry. So I'm going in, I've got a smaller brush now because I'm going to try and create some smaller lines. Bit thinner. I'm still using this purple mix, as you can see. Okay, next I'm going to go for the, let's try that blue mix again. That really nice blue, which is vibrant. We'll get some more thin, well, that's nice, isn't it? Some more thin marks in here. I think we need some more going. Let's go down this way. Now you might find that you like the white marks that are coming across this piece now. Now we've sort of filled in a lot. You could easily leave some of the white marks behind. It's up to you. But try and make, I mean, you can vary the cards by doing that. So you could have some with white marks left behind and others without. Try and keep your lines straight if you can, not like that one that I just did. Right, do we need any more? Let's try some orange now. I'm going to go in with straight orange just for a little while, just to see if that helps, which it does. Just put in some nice orange flashes. Like that. I'm still enjoying that yellow colour, so I'm going to put a little bit more of that in, but I'm going to dry it off again. So just to repeat, this is using watercolour. However, if you have got Inktense watercolours and you want your colours to be even more vibrant, then don't be frightened of using those. So I'm just going to literally get rid of my white areas now by just painting out these sections here. With this yellow. I'm not going to do it all though. I'm going to use that blue as well and put some blue in like that. Extra blue here and there. Okay, so once you've got rid of most of your marks, carry on with those lines if you can, like that. Then you're ready to take it off. Now I just need to just dry this off again. You can do this with acrylic, you can do it with ink, you could do it with pastel, you can do it with anything. Now, carefully, slowly peel off, make sure you've got clean hands, this tape. Once it's thoroughly dry, you can see it doesn't leave the hairs behind that stuck to the tape, thank goodness. Otherwise you'd have a hairy Christmas tree. Again, just peel it very slowly. Like I said, you can use a stencil. Cut your stencil appropriate to the size of your card. And you can see how lovely that looks now. It's got a nice clean edge to it. Slowly. If it feels like it's going to pull, then just take the tape from the other side and it should be okay. There we go. So you can see that's a lovely design now. Now some people might want to leave that as a simple abstract and maybe write Merry Christmas down here. You can do that in pen. If you've got silver pens, I'll do a close-up on this. Look how lovely that looks. Yeah? You could use silver pen, you could put baubles on, you could put tinsel on, you could put anything on. It's up to you. You could just write Merry Christmas at the bottom. I'm just going to put a little trunk So I'm just going to draw down straight so I get the centre point, or roughly the centre point. It's about there. And I'll just put with paint. So again, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. You can use whatever method you want to, and just put a trunk on here like this. I'm just using some of the spare orange paint that I had in my palette. Trunk goes on like that. Dry it. Is it the centre? No, it's not quite in the centre, that. If you're fussy like I am, then, you know, fuss. You could do it by eye or not, it's up to you. Dry it off. And then you can just put a little pot on the bottom. Now again, if you want to, you can draw it if you're not quite sure, and again you can do it with a pen or a pencil or whatever you want to do, and you can make a fancy pot if you want to. Just rough it in and make it as big or as small as you want to make it. I'm going to do this in purple. I'm going to use it again, a bit of purple that I used off there. I'm just going to put the outline in first. Again, you can make it fancy. You could put silver paint, gold paint on here. It's up to you. It's your card, and you can vary this in whatever way you want to vary it. So you could copy mine and then have a play around with different ideas. And again, if this pot is not strong enough in colour, then you can wait for it to dry and add another layer, or you can add paint in while it's still wet like that to give it a shadow effect on the left hand side or on the right hand side or whatever, like so. Okay, so that's it, the first card. Like I said, you can write Merry Christmas. You could write Merry Christmas on here if you wanted to. You could write it underneath. You could write it going down the sides. You could add stars, you could add baubles, you could add all sorts of different things. Now, there are a variety of others here, so I just did these quickly earlier on, just to show you a few more ideas. So not only are you going to have your 5 cards that I'm going to show you, but you've got another 4 ideas here, just using this technique with the masking tape. So you could produce 5 more. You could really go to town. It's such a simple exercise that you could do really quickly and do different ones. So this one was done with a fan brush. Now if you haven't got a fan brush, this is a fan brush. Okay, you can get these in watercolour and in acrylic. Then you can just use a fine detail brush or a rigger brush. Okay, so it's just lots of flicks upwards with different coloured greens and yellows, and again you can vary the colour. This one was just done with wet on dry, so it's wet paint on dry paper with just different greens but going horizontally, and I didn't dry them off in between, and I let them sort of run into one another. This one is similar to the one that we've just done, but working in one direction with different colours. And then this one was wet on wet, so I put water down first and then drop the colour in, so you get this sort of blurry feel. Okay, I hope you can see those clearly enough. So like I said, go and have fun making up your own ideas. The other thing you could do, which we're probably going to use in another technique, is to use a sponge. And the thing is with the sponge is, because you've got your outer edge with the masking tape, you can be quite loose with it and just dot down loads of colour, and it gives you another lovely texture. Okay, So there we are, there's the first card. I'll zoom in again a little bit, just so you can see it nice and big. Okay, so enjoy, loosen up with this, and the next ones will be a little bit more creative but using different techniques. Okay, enjoy.